Hello again. Welcome to Start Talk. I'm Sarah Emery, your host today, and I'm joined with our resident internet expert, the CEO of Start.ca, Peter Rocca. Peter, thanks again for being here.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and we have such great questions to get to that I think you're going to be really excited to share some information with our followers. So let's get started. Our first question, great question from Will Moore. When can I get gigabit speeds in Brantford? Now, we've talked about 500 and gigabit speeds before, 500 megabit and gigabit speeds before, but are packages going to start being tailored more towards those higher speeds anytime soon? And how does that work?
Yeah, well, there's certainly an upward trend in terms of the speeds that most people are getting. If you look even a couple of years ago, 25 and 30 meg was the kind of the most popular plan, and it's kind of stepped up each year to that 50 and 60 meg is the one that most people are getting these days. So there's a continued upward trend on speeds. In terms of delivering a gig service outside, so obviously we talked a lot about our fiber work that we're doing in London, and on that gigabit network, is certainly sooner than later for other some neighborhoods. But in some of the areas outside of London where we're leveraging third-party connectivity, so the cable company or the telephone company in the area, there's still some work to do on terms of the rates and making the interconnections work. So it's probably not looking at this year, but we're hoping that we're maybe closer to the end of the year that some of that stuff will be finalized. So maybe late this year, or more realistically probably into next year.
It really depends on CRTC and different legislations. That's what we're kind of binded by right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and some of the networks are a little different than others. So the telephone network, it's not viable at all. On the cable network, it's not economically viable. So the way that it's priced currently, we can't deliver a product that we can deliver high quality at a speed or at a price that makes sense for that speed. So while there is a certainly growing trend towards those higher speeds, most people are finding that 60 meg speed or 250 is suitable for most needs, and we're certainly working on getting gig as soon as we can, reliably and economically do so.
Yeah, when it's right to do so, and we can make the best product, we'll get it to you. Right?
That's right.
Perfect. Now, as always, we have to touch a little bit on Start TV. It is one of our looking forward to the future things that everyone's looking forward to.
Yes.
Where will Start TV be available?
So the way that it works is we have to apply to the CRTC in order to be able to broadcast in areas. So I think we're in, I always forget if it's 12 or 14 of the major areas, but pretty much all of the large population areas in Ontario, we have service. So, the Londons, Torontos, Ottawas, Barries, Brantford, Sarnia, Windsor. I'm sure I'm missing a few, so my apologies to those areas. But pretty much all of Ontario, with the exception of perhaps a couple areas in the north because we don't have internet connectivity in some of those areas.
And that's a big point. Is you will have to have Start TV connectivity in order to have this, no matter what. So you have to have Start Internet.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now our next question comes from Mark Kim. It says, I use Start.ca service at home and work. I pay more on the business internet service at work than I do at home. However, the internet speed at work is much slower than at home. Great question. Why does that happen?
So there's a couple of reasons that pricing is different between residential and business, and some of it is. So I'm not sure when he was talking about the speed that's slower at work, because our pricing is actually relatively similar on the residential and business DSL platform. When it comes to fiber, it's a little bit different. Fiber is because of it's capitally intensive.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take a look at what are the drivers of cost differences between business and residential, really it's two things. One, it's the support and kind of expectation around our service desks interactions, and the other area is density. So a lot of businesses are in lower density areas. So if you kind of look at the cost per mile of providing connectivity, it's a lower density, and therefore it drives up the cost a little bit.
Excellent answer. Hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Now, and the next question I'm really excited to hear your answer for. It's from Tara Soppet, and she said, everyone I've spoken to say you treat your employees with respect and foster their growth in a great atmosphere. I can attest to that. I am curious how the consideration and supports provided to frontline staff are factored into the business model. Now, I know this is something that we get a lot of questions out when I'm out and about in the city, and I'm so excited to talk about, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Sure. Yeah, I get asked that question a fair amount by, the question always comes across like, I'll tell them about something that we're doing, whether or not it's the way that we call people back to make sure that things are working, or the time that we spend with our customers on the phone, and that we don't have, measured call times, and, we have a very wide scope of things that we'll talk about. So we don't try to, say, oh, that's not our problem. We'll always try to work with the customer. And a lot of people, for any of those things that we're doing, will say, yeah, but isn't that expensive? Doesn't that cost more? And yeah, absolutely it does. It costs more to not limit our frontline staff to, you need to be off the phone in 5 minutes and be on your next call sort of thing. So, but I think it's important. It's always been like, if you look at the roots of our company, it's always about customer experience, and delivering a really good customer experience sometimes costs a little bit more. But I think it's important, because like, how do you differentiate yourself in this space when you've got competitors offering similar platform to us? That it's really about that customer experience, and that's always at kind of the center of our decisions. And we understand the cost of that, and it's something that's just kind of part of our DNA, I guess. But ultimately, if I think you treat your people well, make sure that everybody feels engaged and that they're a part of something, and they're doing something cool. That spills out on the phone. It spills out in our interactions and community. Spills out into everything. And I think that, there's certainly a value, I don't know how to measure exactly that value, but there's a value to our organization for sure. And we want people to come in and be happy every day. So it's just something that we do.
Well, it definitely is a testament to our core values that we try to live and breathe every day. And Pete is, of course, a driving force in all of that. So I think that's a great way to end the show today.
Great.
And it definitely shows what helps Start's set apart from the rest. So thank you for answering those questions today. If we did not answer your question today, make sure to follow along on all of our social media channels, and maybe next time we'll be asking your question to our CEO and internet expert, Pete Rocca. Pete, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thanks for all of you for watching, and we will make sure to have a great episode lined up for you next time.